I'm going to officially call the meeting to order. It is 2:07. Here at the table, myself, Lauren Afrin. I'm joined by John Purcell, Jeff Galdenzi. Online, other members of our committee, Peggy Macaluso, Nicole Olson, and Jason Lee. We're also joined by Mark Schweitzer of Colliers, and from Tecton, we have Jeff Wysinski, Justin Hopkins, and Antonia Savarella. We're also joined by Angelis Papageorge, and I don't see Sal today.
Sal will not be joining us.
Sal will not be joining us. Okay, and Nick from Gilbane, Nick Conti, thank you so much for joining us today. We're thrilled to have you on board. If we can all rise and listen to the minutes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We just celebrated a big birthday. We should all be excited to say that. Okay. Jumping ahead to agenda item number 4, to hear, consider, and approve the minutes, which were included in the backup for May 5th, 2006, May 12th, 2026, May 19th, 2026, and June 2nd, 2026. Can I have someone motion to approve the minutes? Anyone motion?
I'll make the motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Thank you. Jeff, can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, unanimous. We have approved our minutes. Number 5, to hear, consider, and approve the Colliers invoice 00011912156. Can I have a motion to approve Colliers invoice, also included in the backup?
I motion to approve the invoice.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jeff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great. Sorry, I did not do that for the last vote. We have approved Colliers invoice unanimously, and now I am going to actually jump into executive session for number 6 on our agenda, pursuant to CGS 1-200, 6E, and 1-210B24 for Dwight contract reward discussion of commissioning agent services via the bonfire portal. This may take me a minute. Okay, the time is now 2:58. Can I have a motion to exit executive session?
Motion to exit executive session.
Thank you. John Purcell, can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, welcome, whoever you are. Yes, thank you, Adam. Okay, all those in favor? Aye, we're still aye. Thank you. Unanimous, we have exited executive session. We're going to number 7. Wait, I'm so sorry. Could I ask whoever just joined to mute yourself? The last 4 digits is 5118.
It's me, Lauren. It's Nicole. I'll mute.
Thank you. Sorry. It's like a weird feedback thing going on in the room. Okay. I appreciate it. Sorry, but look,
It's SpongeBob SquarePants. It's SpongeBob SquarePants.
Wonderful. Okay. Number 7 on our agenda, to hear, discuss, and review design coordination meetings of July 7th and June 23rd of 2026. Tecton was kind enough to provide us with sort of a general recap of the 23rd, and there was a presentation that was included in that. We don't have, I believe, the 7th of July yet, but we've had some very productive meetings. And what I'm most excited about is what's technically number 8, but I feel like we could almost combine these two, and I apologize I didn't do that in advance. But at the end of the backup from Tecton is the elevation and massing for the future build site. So I'm going to cede the floor to all of you. We are thrilled to see how far we've come since sort of really our think tank and these different concepts, right? And yeah, I would love for you guys to just kind of walk everybody else through who hasn't had the opportunity to see this yet, because of course, as we all know, we cannot have more than 4 of us at the design coordination meetings where it's considered a quorum. So if you wouldn't mind catching us up on the last 2. Whoever would like to go first, or you guys can share the responsibility.
So we issued the kind of written update that kind of tells you the work that we've been doing, kind of both in combination as part of our design coordination meetings, as well as some of the work that's been going on in the background. For purposes of sharing on the screen as well, we've kind of coalesced that into a presentation that we can share on the screen. This did not go out. We can certainly follow up there. In the time period since we sent that out, we've continued
If
to
we
work on
include it afterwards, I'm fine with doing that. I think for purposes of the public, I appreciate you pointing out that this is not what is provided in the backup currently, but we can provide it afterwards.
So we have held, since the last time we met with this body, we have had the design coordination meeting number 3, focusing on the building, cognitive and sustainable learning environments, and most recently, technology, visioning, and infrastructure. So kind of going from wide lens, discussing programming, then site, then building at a high level, and most recently, kind of narrowing that lens a little bit to get into specific items regarding technology, some more detailed stuff. So we have a brief recap. We want to spend a lot of time focusing on some of the content that we've created for some additional floor plans, the floor plan development, as well as elevations, as well as some kind of exterior massing mood of the building. So focusing on the June 23rd, building cognitive and sustainable learning environments. This is, again, part of our kind of multi-phase review of coordination. We start every meeting, go back to the typical agenda. We start every meeting with kind of the administrative update and schedule. We recap the prior meeting just to make sure that we didn't miss anything. Sometimes, we throw a lot of information at the group. Sometimes there's thoughts or follow-up that we need to have from the previous meeting. Then we get into our design update and review, and then our focus topic, and then kind of land on next steps and takeaways. We also kind of revisit our think tank vision statement. You'll see this slide in most of our work because it is a great touchstone to remind everyone why we're doing this work. So we discussed kind of the 8 core types of considerations for interior learning environments, from analytical, verbal, auditory, social, visual, creative, kinesthetic, and solitary, kind of centering around the multiple modalities of learning that occurs in our current schools. So we got some good feedback as well as this is just an example on the screen of some of the slides that we showed during that time. And I think we did provide the minutes from that meeting as part of the update that went out to the group. Still need to circle the loop on our July 7th meeting, and that will be provided in our next update as well. But technology and visioning, we discussed what the student experience is, what the technology required for our teachers and our faculty, some project-based specifics regarding technology requirements, a lot of discussion of focusing on flexibility and accessibility for all learners. And we had a considerable discussion about making sure that this can be adaptable over time. There will be a number of more kind of finer details that we'll need to continue to follow up as we start getting into the room-by-room description, which is another set of design coordination meetings, a little bit further into design development, where we'll get into, does this need to be here or there? But this was a good discussion to kind of focus us at the start.
So, yeah, we also, at the beginning of each of these meetings, we review the floor plan revisions, kind of adjacencies, and we received some really good feedback as far as where program needs to be located. So you will notice as we go through, once we land on the floor plans, there were several different changes related to grade level configuration and where certain program elements were. But I think we landed in a good spot, I think, with all the feedback that each one of these meetings, we would get the feedback from the district as well as far as what works well.
I should point out for the public, we've had Kristen Bruno from the ECC, the director of the ECC here at Fairfield Public Schools, who joined us on both of the last two meetings. We also had Marco Taddy from the IT department, who was able to join us for the last one for visioning technology. So it's been very collaborative. Sal's also been on those meetings as well as Angela's. So I appreciate, and obviously your full team as well as Lincoln. So it's been great. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
I just want everybody to know that it's more than just us.
So similar kind of collection of topic points at that meeting that we discussed, as a student matriculates from pre-kindergarten to fifth grade, what were the different requirements at each grade level. And also just had some images from precedent projects or historical projects in our office, kind of show what this means in terms of some of the technology that we have in our space. We had a lot of discussion about this kind of interactive playground here that's to be further validated. We know that we can provide the infrastructure and kind of defer that discussion to a later date. I think through all of these conversations, I think the working group or the design coordination group, a focus has been making sure that we're not creating a standard within the district that then needs to kind of, the conversation is always, are we creating a standard or are we trying to align some of our other elementary schools with what we're doing? So I think that was part of this conversation.
Yeah, I think it'll continue to be something that we're trying to gauge ourselves. I think there's a certain feeling, at least from my perspective, that this is new and it's novel and that we haven't had a from-the-ground build since Burr Elementary School. And Angeles, correct me if I'm wrong, Burr was 2013. I think McKinley was 2006.
9 years ago. So.
9 years ago? Okay. Still, very new, very new. In that we're combining ECC to this project as well. What's that?
I'm wrong, that's not correct, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to remember, because we just did the roof at Burr, and it was...
Yeah, but I'm talking about like new build from the ground up.
Yeah.
I think it was McKinley,
I was just
then
thinking the
Burr.
roof was replaced that year. I gotta look now, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm going to go on the record. I'm new to Fairfield in 6 years, but I spent a lot of time following this, and I feel like it's been at least a decade since we've had a new build. I want to say 20 years at least, but at least a decade. So for us to say that this is going to be the new standard, yes, but it's also a totally new concept to have ECC attached to an elementary school, which the town really did weigh quite heavily in the last year. That's why the feasibility study was done, was whether or not we needed to have ECC, combined with an elementary school. And obviously the state agreed. It was a great idea, and we were awarded a tremendous reimbursement rate, 75%. The governor came to verify that this was the future for Connecticut schools. They're looking to have specialized programming attached to, and early childhood centers, pre-K attached, hopefully, to all schools in the future. So it might not just be new for Fairfield, it might be new for Connecticut as well. I know you guys have worked on other projects. Sorry to ramble on.
So I guess I'll kind of park it here. Are there any questions regarding the design coordination meetings? I think most everybody has been, at least in the room, has been in attendance at the right track, wrong track. You kind of see where we're going with how we're kind of assembling these.
I think they've been fantastic, the ones that I've attended. I feel like we get so much, information. You guys have been fantastic in pointing out why each of these, not just like the title of the meeting, why are we focusing on these? I'm excited to see next week's the healthy materials. But yeah, overall, I feel like it's really helping us get closer to what the intention is for this new school. How we want the students to interact, how we want the teachers to be able to teach. It's not just the aesthetic of the outside of the building or the layout necessarily. It's really the experience that I think we're hoping everyone will appreciate and enjoy. For those who have joined us on some of the meetings, does anybody else have any feedback? Have you enjoyed the design coordination meetings?
Peggy's hand is up.
Peggy, yes.
On one of the earlier design meetings, I had asked Jeff about having spaces that can be expanded into classrooms, something a little more flexible. I understand that, we have, we're designing to a certain population, but with everything that's going on in town, there's nothing saying that 5 years from now, we don't have 50, 60 other students coming into this school. And I want to make sure that the minute we have more students, we're not building right now to max capacity. I want to see wiggle room. I want to see something that says if we have 100 more students, it's not like, oh, we have to put a big addition on. I want to be able to find spaces within the footprint now that we can expand to a little easier rather than putting a shovel in the ground.
Peggy, I think that's a really good point. I hear you on what's going on in town, just to maybe provide a little bit of color commentary on that. The last Board of Ed meeting, there was a heavy discussion around class cap sizes and the need to expand to additional sections in our K through 5 buildings. Based on the fact that we are a growing population, especially a couple of schools within, I would say about 3 or 4 out of the 11 elementary schools are experiencing some really tight capacities right now. I don't know that we can change. We are building, actually. I hate to say this, Peggy, but we are building to a max of 392, right? But 120 of those students are ECC. So we are kind of restricted, at least in the ECC wing, that we cannot, those are going to need to be designed specifically for that population. I don't know that we can convert an ECC classroom to a regular size classroom, given all the parameters. I mean, a couple of us have the opportunity to go and explore the ECC spaces that we currently have at Ward and at Stratfield, and it is a totally different kind of classroom, right? Their needs are just different than a regular K through 5 classroom. However, I think some of the town discussion, I mean, especially in your neighborhood, if you don't mind me saying, the Sherman District, that is also an older building that was not designed with all the specialized spaces like OT, PT. They're having to do that up on the stage. We heard a lot of feedback from both Board of Ed members and public members of the public that are experiencing having to have specialized programming in the hallways and closets and on stages. It's not ideal. We'd all love more space, but given our budget, given the ed specs that were passed by the Board of Ed, I believe we have to design a building specific to those.
I think her point, though, might be, what if can you do, if you had to expand in the future, 10 years from now, 15 years?
So I hear that. I think
Where-
that's where we could have a little bit of wiggle room, and Nicole has actually been really good at pointing this out, that we want to identify, and this actually came up at the last design coordination meeting, we want to identify the parts of the building. It's sort of like, it's not one of our charges, right? But it would be helpful for us to know where we can expand on the Dwight campus, if we had to. If,
Can I
say,
chime in there?
yes, Nicole.
So I brought this up before I was even on the committee. I brought it up to the Board of Finance, and they were worried about, well, now that you have so much money, what are you going to buy gold toilets? And that lovely gentleman, hope he's watching. I think that if there is a little excess money in any of our future builds as Fairfield as a community, and especially now that we're doing multi-site ECC, one of the ways we can expand without having to put, per se, Peggy, a shovel in the ground is making sure that a single level area such as the ECC is built with a foundation that can someday sustain a second level if need be. The problem with how elementary schools were built historically and even currently is they always build single level a lot of times. They just figured, oh, we won't expand that much. And now they're growing and they're all jutting out until finally you have no room on your playground. If we can start looking towards the future, I think the future build is moving up and making sure that our buildings are prepared for that, because then you might have the 1 year construction thing. You kind of already have an idea what your footprint is. You might already have, just like in this case, stairwells nearby, where once you build up on top of the ECC, you could potentially have 6 more classrooms up there. And that's a good way to look at it without pushing, because we do have to follow the ed spec, which is unfortunate, but we can't force them to say, hey, what if, and give us the money for what if. We need to spend the money we have now on the students we have now and the protection that we need. But if we can look for the future, I think the future is building up on our elementary schools, and right now none of them.
I think those are all, thank you, Nicole, it's really well said. The feedback is a little difficult, it might be hard for some members of the public to hear. I'm not gonna try to recap everything, but I think this is all.
Sorry.
That's okay, I'm gonna have you mute again if you don't mind. Okay, we continue to hear the feedback, thank you. Peggy, you still have your hand raised.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I don't want to discount what anybody is saying. I think this is all very important. I think actually Jason could probably weigh in here as well. I think one of the issues, without getting too far down the rabbit hole, one of the issues that we've had in the past, my understanding was in Mill Hill, there was an ed spec, there was a budget, the budget was cut, the ed spec was not followed, they had to reduce the number of classrooms, even though the Board of Ed had asked for 2 additional classrooms, or it was part of the original ed spec, Jason, I believe. Anyway, and now, unfortunately, Mill Hill, which had the CLC pulled from Dwight and switched to Mill Hill, is now over capacity. So we don't want to see that happen here, but based on our current projected enrollment, which I've seen, sort of the 10-year projection, it's really hard to do projections on ECC, but we have a pretty good idea of what Dwight's projected enrollment is, and we don't see it going above 240 in the next, 10 years, at least at this rate. Maybe something will happen. Maybe TPZ will, change the zoning up there, but for right now, I just don't see any of that happening.
Well, one thing that hasn't been addressed in all of this, we have been unbalanced as far as diversity. And they have been talking for years about it, and they keep avoiding it. And I know Hartford has really been on our case the last 5 years.
Peggy, it's actually currently on hold, the racial imbalance law. So that was actually like I hear you, but that was like a 2-year ago conversation, and the state had decided to suspend the racial imbalance law. So we don't have to address that right now.
We may in the future, though. I mean, you have to think when you're spending this kind of money on a school, you have to think about the future enrollment, future change in school districts, lines.
I agree. But I'm going to leave that up to the Board of Ed to decide. That's not for the building committee.
Yeah, none of this is in scope or budget for this
Correct.
project.
The ed spec has the 8-year projection, and we are designing to the high of the 8 years.
So if I may, I think when we go through the floor plans, we can identify some of the areas that we would target for building on the second floor or to Nicole's, what's that?
Do you want to jump to the floor plan so we can tackle this?
Let's do that.
Right now.
Thank you.
So all these comments are really valid. We heard them here. We also heard them at our design review meetings. Future flexibility, not only in space allocation, but also utility infrastructure, IT infrastructure. We talked about strategies to kind of future-proof the building. So I'll give you kind of the high level where we start from a space, from within the footprint perspective, because although there's plenty of land on the site, land is still at a premium because of flat surface area that we can build as far as the footprint. So we want to be thoughtful about where the possible future expansion could be. On the plan that's on the screen, a couple of things. So from a flexibility within the existing building envelope, the grid is set up on basically a 30 by 30 grid, which means if you set up the structure in a modular fashion, your pre-K, your ECC rooms and your kindergarten rooms, for every 2 of those, you have 4 classrooms. So if you can set up the structure in a modular fashion, if you need to change the future use of a room, it becomes a little bit easier. You're not having to worry about the structure per se. So that's one piece that I think we've built into this plan. The other piece that you could look at for future expansion or change of use is there's certainly plenty of program elements. I'll pick on the upper level, for example, math, science, and world language and MLL. If those needed to become push come to shove a typical classroom, they could be, because they're in that same, we set them up. We intend to set them up with the same infrastructure so that they can be easily converted. So those are some of the basics that you could build in immediately. So utility. The other piece was on this plan, on the far right side of this slide, on both the top and bottom, there's a dotted line that says future classroom expansion above what is basically CLC and custodial storage. It's not utility.
I see that, yeah.
And the reason why, so we had shown them in a previous version in a slightly different configuration, but we gave some thought to where, because this comment came up at previous meetings, where could we go up? You don't often want to go up and over spaces because it's not easy to build when the building's occupied. You don't like putting steel over an occupied space, but if we identify these areas now, the reason why we put them on those top and bottom corners is because the use underneath could, even though they're important uses, they could be disrupted or be relocated temporarily to build up those couple classrooms. Are we going to get expansion for 100 more students? Probably not, but this I thought was a decent location. In addition to that, they're in a decent location from an egress perspective, meaning you wouldn't have to worry about hallways or stairwells. We're gonna make sure that the stairwells themselves are sized for that future capacity. So there's a building code where it governs like the width of a stair. We're gonna make sure that we count, these 2 as fully occupied, so we don't have to go back in and do that. So we are thinking about it. We are starting to weave some of these concepts in. Will we get you to 25% more capacity? Probably not, but I think some of these strategies start addressing some of the concerns that I think we've heard previously and today. So
It has come up, yes, in our design coordination meetings. The idea, like you said, of future-proofing and with the possibility that there may be a different size population at Dwight at some point.
Am I still giving bad feedback?
No,
Or is this
actually,
better?
you sound great right now.
Sorry, it was the headphones. They're off-brand headphones. quick question. As far as the stage goes, I'm seeing that you have a curtain wall there, and I'm seeing the general music area along with on the second floor music instruction next to the faculty lounge. Is the stage, is that a room that could possibly also be turned over into a classroom and turning the music instruction or the first level music general 1,000 square foot space and kind of converting those kids onto the 900 square foot stage? Is that something that's possible, or would that be not allowed in the ed spec?
That's not allowed. We can't adjust the ed spec. These are two very different. One is for music like choir, if you will, just music theory. And then the other is for like band and orchestra. So they're two different spaces. I hear what you're saying.
So you couldn't ever move band and orchestra onto the stage for a certain amount of years and adjust that into a classroom if there is a sudden high influx of students?
They are currently doing that actually right now at Dwight and at a couple of other schools, but it's not ideal. Because then you have to contend with, if you could just, I'm going to paint a scenario. You've got kids in the gym running, playing, throwing balls, screaming, and then you're trying to teach a music class, with kids who are trying to like tune their instruments and hear the instructor. It's just, it's not ideal.
So I was thinking, like, are we factoring in getting that same collapsible wall as Sandy Hook that had like a very good sound barrier?
For the stage?
Is that something that is in the plan for the stage? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's indicated on the plan. To address your comment, Nicole, right. So we this plan, both the main floor plan and the upper floor plan match the educational specification space requirements. If, like, in the future, down the road, after this thing's built in 10 years down the road, if you had to, push come to shove, use the stage as an alternative educational space, we want to give a little more thought to the access, because we don't, it's a good question, let us think about it. We don't want to send students through the gymnasium in order to get to the stage if you're using that as like an alternative classroom. So if we can, I think there's opportunity. The PE storage, we can kind of rework a little bit and maybe get access to it. But it's a good comment for future proof. Mm-hmm. Let us look at it.
Or even like a doorway off those platform stairs off the back.
Right, exactly.
So the curtain stays closed.
Yep.
Just something to think about for, like you guys are saying, these students were saying, oh, that's really not ideal. But that's what our students are living with right now, a non-ideal situation. So if we could make it a little better than not ideal at all, I think that would be a great step forward for Fairfield's future, just in case.
And a quick question. So you're designing to a specific number of students with all this design work. How much variability do you have where you have to start making physical changes? Because you can always accommodate plus or minus a certain percent, right, in the current design? Yeah. Is it 5% or is it
that's a
student-wise?
Or is there even a formula?
We've got 18 classrooms, and typical model for Fairfield, 18 classrooms is a 378. Because the 21 classroom is the 441, and the 24 classroom is the 504.
Right.
Students. So with the
504 is the largest that we have here.
With the 18 classrooms, you have a capacity up to 378, and that's not even counting the ECC or the CLC programs
398
or space. So the 18 classrooms can accommodate up to 378.
Based on the square footage
Based on the
and
square
the
footage.
maximum number of children allowed per
I think
class.
it's what? It's
not 378. I thought it was 392.
no,
390.
it's 378 for 18 classroom. It's lower grades. It's up to what, 22 or 23, and the 3 through 5 is at 24 or 25 capacity.
It's all being discussed at the moment.
Well,
So it's
previously it's based on
current.
Yeah, K through 2 is like has a lower number, 22 or 23.
So
3
the
through 5 is, has the higher capacity. You can get up to 25 students in there.
So then how much flex have you built into the program?
What was that core factor that when we were talking about? The gross core factor, the percentage-wise that you, is this maybe what he's referring to?
No, it's the fact that right now you have the number of students in K through 5 is 278 or
264.
264. With an 18 classroom setup for K through 5 is 378 per previous standards. I know we're discussing, the Board of Ed is discussing them now, but it's, the 18 classroom model is a 378 classroom. You can hold up to 378 students.
Yeah.
So there is over 100 students that you could fit into the existing K through 5 classroom.
And what was the projected growth in the number of students?
It says 8-year max projection, 240 plus 24 max CLC students.
So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, you've got this.
So you already built in enough capacity for future growth based on any reasonable expectation, and that can all be covered in the current scope and budget.
That's the 264.
That's without having to put a shovel in the ground or, with the caveat being, if the town or the state changed the number of students allowed per classroom and the number goes down, then everything's off the table.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think
I
the,
appreciate you saying that. And like kind of walking us all through it, because it is, and maybe Peggy, that helps address some concerns there too, is that there.
For me, it does, right?
Yeah.
We're not designing to the maximum
Number now.
projection, we're
Yeah.
designing beyond that, so that there should be some growth, there's growth built
There's
into
growth in
this.
it, yeah.
There's growth in the K through 5. However, the ECC, I think, is a different animal. It's a different, we can't necessarily, one, we don't know what their projected enrollment is. We know that right now we're looking to do half-day classes, not full day. Full day is provided at some of the locations, not all. But right now, at least according to my understanding, the Board of Ed had designed this for 120 students in ECC, but half day only. Okay.
so a few areas where, so classrooms are around 900 or 950, so those will accommodate the 21 that you were referring to. Where we see the pinch points typically are like cafeteria. So that's why in this plan that's up on the screen, it says 1540. We're cheating a little bit and we're counting the hallway. So we're counting, this piece here, because you could really set up, and use that space in its entirety. So knowing that that is tight for, we're trying to, it's the same kind of concept that we're trying to do here with the multi-purpose and kind of push this out. We turn this one, and in theory, if you
Open that to the hallway.
if you open that up,
And-
that gives you some more flexibility. So that's where we see the pinch points. It's not necessarily the classrooms, because they're pretty good size.
I actually appreciate you saying that, because I do remember, again, this is maybe going back 2-3 years ago in a Board of Ed meeting, they were discussing shutting Dwight and adding our population onto Burr, which is a 504, but even though they're not at cap right now, there's just no way you could fit all of those students in the cafeteria, or even.
I'm doing like 5 or 6 lunch waves or
Exactly, starting at like 9 a.m.
First lunch, 9 a.m.
We're trying to build in some of that flexibility into the spaces that we know would be future pinch points, with like setting it up configuration wise so that you're counting that extra hallway, that kind of stuff. So it gives you a little more room.
Okay.
That's great.
This is great. Do you want to kind of walk us through, because I'm kind of curious, the shift in where we've placed the CLCs? And again, not everybody's been through the various iterations, but I see some changes even from the last time.
So there was conversations related to placement of CLC, more integrated with the grade level learning community. So on the first floor, what we chose is top right is to locate it more geared towards grade 1, because I think the ECC has some support spaces already built in on the far left. So the I guess top bar on your screen, the blues, I don't know what one, the left blue and the right blue, but
Teal and I would say light blue.
Okay, thank
We're
you.
gonna to differentiate.
All right, sounds good.
To my eye.
Um,
Although you could say ECC is teal too. I don't know.
So what we're trying to do is the placement of that yellow space, the top right CLC and the OTPT, is to try to get them close to those bluer spaces. So that is kind of one adjacency relationship, and then when you go to the upstairs, we've really taken it a step further and embedded it right in the basically 3 through 5. So it's right in the center of kind of that grade level learning community, flanking math, science, and world language and MLL. So presumably students would be changing, class spaces to attend those 3 classrooms. So it takes a little bit of the stigma out of going to those spaces because there's going to be traffic flow there anyway. So we thought that was a pretty good solution to some of the comments we heard from the educators. So that's the reason why the CLC has changed in location, and then the remainder of I'll call it the yellow spaces, the specialized support spaces, you can see they've been modified slightly so that they're off of kind of common travel areas.
I've noticed like the psych office, the social worker.
Yeah. And so they'll have the access to daylight because there's a courtyard there, so it's going to be beautiful space. It'll be perfectly fine design-wise, but it also is off of, we're calling that main corridor there, the orchard, if you will, is the kind of the concept that Antonia will kind of talk through. But if it's off of a common corridor, then all students can gain access to it without having to travel through another student's learning community. So there's some minor refinements, but I think it was an important change to make on the plan. So
I'm glad to hear you walk us through it and the overall thinking behind it, because I think this, to your point, these were things that the educators had commented on and what's important to them. So this looks great. This looks great. Does anybody have any questions about the CLC placement? I mean, again, I've seen this kind of go through a couple of different iterations, but I just want to point out a couple things that I appreciate. If you look again at the top, you go back, I'm sorry, to the first floor, right? So you've got kindergarten right off the ECC space in the back hallway, and then those students would progress over to grade 1 on the same floor, right? So possibly if you were an ECC or pre-K student, you would go just around the hallway and you graduate up to the next 2 classroom levels. And then once you reach 2nd grade, you'd go upstairs with the big kids.
and it's still somewhat
On
tucked
its own.
away, on its own. So it gives a pretty decent natural progression through.
I think that's fantastic. And then there is grades 3, 4, and 5 flexible spaces on both, the east and the west side of the school facade. Yes. Is that Peggy?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Well, I will say, I'll chime in. I love it. I think that you're going to find the first grade teachers are going to be very grateful that they're not taking their classrooms up and down for art and music and lunch. That 20 something 6, 7, and 8-year-olds to get them all up and down a flight of stairs, I'm sure is aggravating. So I think keeping the grade 1 down on the first floor is such an awesome move. Thank you, guys.
Some other kind of, I guess, less exciting but similar importance, toilets, infrastructure, IDF, MDF, utility MEP rooms for the facility folks that are interested in the room. We think the gray area on the plans are kind of the support spaces in general. They're centrally located, placed where they should be, where there's no natural daylight. We're stacking them so that it makes sense from a utility perspective. And we think, Calderon is still working on, they call it future-proofing the size of the rooms and the travel distances from that space to the educational areas, things like IT travel runs and things like cableways. And so they're working on that, but we think we have a pretty good structure set in place. I think we've addressed all of the universal toilet access to universal toilet rooms throughout the building for both student, but also faculty, staff, and visitor. So we think that was a comment we heard as well. And then we can, if there's any other floor plan questions, we can certainly answer them, but we can walk you through kind of some of what we set up as the design intent and philosophy springing from the think tanks that we had. So,
I think I'm glad, walk us through. It may not be exciting to all, but it's exciting. All of it's exciting to me.
I can tell you the mechanical rooms are never big enough. As somebody who works in mechanical rooms for a whole lifetime, if you tell the architect you need 100 square feet, you're lucky if you wind up with 50.
How did you know my tricks?
Yes.
I'm not going to disagree with you there. Yeah. Yes, I think what we're after the most is efficient use of space, whether it's educational or mechanical. So that's why we try to get the building diagram correct, so the infrastructure is a clean diagram to run utilities through the building. We'll work on that and we'll balance it. I want to get a little more info from the MEPs on kind of the mechanical room. Why am I struggling with the point of service entrance of water, electric. Basically, you'll see we have a space on the far right of this first floor plan. Depending on the grading and what we're looking at and cuts and fills, it might be beneficial to have it lower because you're coming up so far anyway. It might be beneficial to put it in a lower level if we can keep the square footage down below what's required for elevators and stair, all those kinds of things. So it's TBD, but we've identified space for it. So.
I have a random question. I don't know if this is even a consideration anymore, but water fountains, like water bottle fillers.
Bottle fillers.
Well, we're required to have them by the plumbing code. So there will be a discussion, I think, when we start getting into the details about what the district preference is between bottle fillers versus up-down drinking fountains, electric water coolers, that type of thing. So we usually...
I think one thing that has changed in the last 60 years is the level of saturation that our children
everybody's
now.
well hydrated.
Very hydrated. They're all walking around with these. So
Creatine, so they need it.
No, I'm just curious because I didn't know if that was part of our. I don't think I've recalled seeing it in the ed specs, Angelus. So I didn't know. Do we have a standard?
It's not in the ed spec, but it is part of the district standard that we sent out.
Yeah, we have it, and it's part of the plumbing code.
Yeah. There will be probably a minimum, we haven't done the actual counts based on the occupancy, but there's going to be between 8 and 12 drinking fountains or bottle fillers in this building. So we typically try and place them outside our toilet cores, as well as outside the gymnasium and the cafeteria. So, where students may need them outside of going to the bathroom or off of the hallway are typically your gyms and your cafes. So.
Okay.
Yes.
That's my random for the day.
And I'll give you another random one that there was another comment relative to possible sinks and or trash recycle as you enter and exit the cafeteria. So you'll see
Oh,
a
yeah.
small gray bar. We've set up space either as you enter, or we could talk about where it exactly wants to be, but we've identified space on both the north side of the plan and the south, plan north and plan south, to accommodate that. What it looks like, what we end up doing
Yeah.
detail-wise.
One thing that the district has added, and very excited because our PTA council was very instrumental in helping fund this, is we also do composting now in all of our schools. So there is not only trash, there's liquids, there's regular compostable material, and then there's food waste. And actually, they're separated out, so recycle, compost.
This is very somewhat off topic, but I'm going to throw it out there before I forget. I love that you have the hand sink area outside. I'm just noticing it and zoomed in now that you said it. Just throwing it out there, since we seem to have like a farm orchard theme going. Trough sinks would
Oh,
just look
yeah.
awesome, and you can keep them a lot closer to the wall. And I just think the theme, I just wanted to throw it out there. I love a good trough sink, so.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, actually, because in my inspo pictures that I brought to the think tank, does everybody remember, I don't know if your schools had this, but mine did, there was not just a trough sink, it was in a circle, and there was a pedal at the bottom that you touched, and the water would come on. And I cannot tell you, especially,
Pennsylvania with all the manufactured steel mills.
there we go. But
I
mean,
cannot
for
tell you how
sensory-
excited my boys get when they find a trough urinal somewhere they
Oh.
go. They think it's the most amazing thing ever.
So I mean, I think for sensory learners, especially, you know, having that experience is quite lovely. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, I love that. I love that. That's a great.
There's one of those at Two Roads, if you really.
Oh, really?
You want to take your kids?
With the pedal? The
Yeah.
pedal at the bottom?
Yeah.
Oh, I need to
It's an
go.
old factory, so it's
How cool.
Yep.
in Pennsylvania.
And the trough toilets are notorious for, I'm sure the men here know, Fenway Park.
Oh, I've never been.
Fenway Park still has, yeah.
There's a question on the somebody asked me a question on the ratio. So we have like 3 classrooms for second graders, 3 classrooms for first graders, but only 6 for 3, 4, 5.
So it's 2 per, generally, right, Angelos?
Expect that way.
But that's how it's.
That's back.
it's
That's what was confusing me too.
Yeah, so generally, and I don't want to like speak to the Board of Ed's like thinking behind this, but it is, there's greater numbers in the
More
lower
kids per
grades.
class. And
Yeah, and then it thins out as they go up.
Yeah, and it's
And also, I think the ratio gets a little larger, does it not, Lauren? I don't know.
they're being split into those as well. Okay, and they're being split into the specials, or whatever they're called, math, science, and.
more language.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I had.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to have additional sections, it's usually the lower grades that are needed, not the upper. But it can change. You can have like one massive population like we just had come through. I think it was last year. The now 6th graders were, it was like a massive class for some reason. Good point. Anybody else? Random observations, welcome at this point.
What's above,
I do apologize. I have to step out. I have to come off the call, but I did want to say one quick thing before I got off, because I know you guys are very lucky, and I'm very jealous that all the pictures are hanging up in front of you. I'm obsessed with elevation study B, in case anybody cares, because I'm going to hang up. I think B is wonderful. I love the corn crib. I can't wait to figure out what the hell's going to go in it. I love the barn style, and I love that in both you still have that lighthouse style feature in the front that reminds us of our coastal areas. So B has my vote day in and day out, and I love it. Awesome. So
Awesome,
That was
thank
it.
you for that.
sorry to step off, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We still have quorum and we don't have any other votable items, but I think it's, do you guys want to jump to elevation and massing? Is there any other questions on the internal floor plan? Do you want anything else that you wanted to point out?
No, yeah, we'll quickly go through the next series if that.
Or do you want to jump ahead if you had something else you want to focus on?
Oops,
We
what just
can-
happened? Sharing stuff.
Justin broke it.
Just for members of the public following along, this was sort of a recap of design coordination meetings. We're going to jump to agenda item number 8 to hear, discuss, and review elevation and massing of the future build site with Tecton.
Great, thank you. So we'll
Yeah, tag team it?
tag team it.
Go for it.
If I missed something. So I know for those that aren't at home, or they won't have the luxury of seeing all these, but these are kind of the collages that we collected during.
I gotta find Kelly Kenny's because it's my favorite one.
And so we'll do a better job
Here,
of.
at the top, she packed it in.
Yeah, we'll do a better job of digitally recording these, meaning we'll put these in the slide deck. I just.
You guys.
So what we did is we pinned these up, collected the comments, created kind of your story, and
Yeah.
then used this information on the next few
Library media
slides
specialist.
to basically develop where we landed today. I don't, it's not certainly there yet. I mean, it's our first shot out of the box, but that's the process that we went through to create this. And we heard a lot about connection to nature, the surrounding properties, the importance of the surrounding properties, the Greenfield Hill, the history. So the next few slides really just represent some of the historical photos that we've collected, and then just really analyzing, and this is a good example, analyzing basically the massing and trying to reflect that into some of the components that you see. I know it's difficult in 2D here, but we're building the model as we speak, so you'll be able to get a better sense, and we'll show you some views. But the proportion that's on the screen was intended to kind of be replicated in portions.
Like a barn.
Pretty much like those barn kind of shapes in portions of the facade. And then, of course, at ECC on both option A and B, really breaking down the scale and changing the direction of the gable roof. So it, as you approach, you see that head on. So that's kind of the connection between some of what we heard and how we developed the facade. If you go, we'll go quickly through these. Similar type of concept here, just studying really what we want this building, because it's about an 84,000 square foot building. We want to break down the scale, so it's an approachable scale, certainly for an elementary school. So that's why you see the components and techniques. Although the floor plan is pretty clean, stacked, kind of neat from a structural perspective. We thought that afforded us some ability to kind of play with some of the shapes and massing that we have here. So that's, again, those connections. And then as we moved through some of the history, the old post office, so you'll see that show up in a translated form, maybe right around the entry. So not everything has a pitched roof to it, but flanking either side of the kind of the main entry. And there's some more contemporary feel, so that, like, this is all glass here, so it'll feel a combination of traditional and kind of contemporary. But these are kind of some of the photos that we've collected and tried to use as inspiration. And you can see post office on the left, but on the far right, some of the imagery where most of the buildings, at the front face of the building has the side of the gable end, which is, I think, is kind of interesting. So we tried to kind of mimic that throughout. These are more, I guess, more contemporary versions, and then just some of the connections to nature, the stone walls, where we can preserve the ones further to the east, that are buried in the wood. I should do so. I think that would be a really neat connection. So that's a piece that our site civil survey need to locate on there, because they weren't on that survey. So so just, again, connecting kind of some of the themes that we saw in your community to the overall design. And then the next few, we went over this last time, so we're the site civil's really working hard at taking this concept and developing it and getting the grades to work. The building has squeezed a bit from what you see on this plan, so we've given them that because we're trying to get that plateau to be as efficient as possible from a constructability perspective. So,
And just for the public, the plateau we're referring to is the actual upper field.
upper field, yeah. So there's there's still a lot of work here to do to get this to be fine-tuned correctly. There's some comments that we received that the design review meetings were related to drop off and pick up and those kinds of things. So it's TBD, still working on it, but this is the most recent, and Site Civil's working on it. So I think we talked about this at the last meeting, so we won't go over it, but separation of parent bus drop off, those kinds of, all of the components that we heard previously, we're continuing to refine. Next, we went over the floor plans. So again, just diagrammatically, what we didn't go over, I guess, floor plan wise, was there are some doors, toilets, areas where you can kind of compartmentalize the building and use it for community use without having people go through the entirety of your building. That's our strategy here, to make sure that we continue that theme as we develop the floor plan, the compartmentalization we talked about, but everything that we've discussed, we will continue to refine as we move along. So it's working out fairly well. We do need some more detailed conversations about how spaces would be used, off hours, those kinds of things. You can stop me at any time.
No, I want to just reiterate what Nicole said earlier. It looks fantastic. It really does. It looks like you've spent a lot of time, thoughtful consideration where these spaces need to be. I appreciate you pointing out things like locked doors. And I know that there is a third entrance to the right of the music room. I just want to point that out as well. The main entrance would be still in the center.
Yep.
And then there was a loading dock right off of the cafeteria. So there was.
Yes, right around the corner there. We're trying to tuck it between facilities and kitchen so that, and stop it before it gets to the
You
cafe.
call it kitchen, but kitchen also includes, I assume, stockroom, refrigeration. All of that is in kitchen.
Yes, yep. And our food service, I don't know if he's working on it just yet, but we'll try to get a schematic plan together with the equipment list of the kitchen. So if we know it's a warming kitchen, right? I believe, yeah. So.
2 serving lines.
Yeah. Diagrammatically, we've set it up for the 2 serving lines, and to answer your question in short, yes, all the components related to the server.
I assume that's since there's no adjacent storage or.
Yeah. So there'll be toilets and lockers and things like that.
Office.
Yeah, office, yep. So as we move into kind of the style, the aesthetic, the architecture, yes, we took a leap towards the corn crib. I thought it was kind of a neat idea we thought it was a neat idea to have a juxtaposition of the main entry that's kind of maybe a different feel, scale to the ECC. Just what it is, it could be kind of an interesting, right now it's designed and intended to be basically exterior only, part of the canopy. We think it could be lit up at night, it could hold student work, it could be some kind of something that could be changed over time, but it's just a identification, a feature that can identify the ECC that I think is familiar shapes, it could geometries, it could be all kinds of interesting
Sorry guys, I have a tickle in my throat.
teaching tool kind of thought.
That's water.
So that's where that came
I
from.
do have a funny story about a corn cup,
Corn crib?
the corn crib from my childhood that I'll tell you
All
about.
right.
In fact, let me just fill it
There we
with
go.
water.
But we're affectionately calling it right now the corn crib canopy. So keep going.
So that's the only difference. For B to A, just that the corn crib exists in B and not in A from that one detail.
And there's some smaller, there's modifications to the main entry area, the scale. Started with A, went to B. I think this is more refined. Everything got kind of, the scale.
It's a bit of a Where's Waldo trying to.
Yeah,
figure
it
out
was
what the
pulled
differences
down.
are.
There's,
Base model.
yeah.
Upgrade.
This is kind of where we started. We thought some of the massing at the main entry, so you'll see this has been scaled and articulated down a little bit. So it's not, if you study it, you'll see it, but it's.
Yeah, okay, I see it now that you call it out, yeah.
We looked at, so this feature here, so it's in the center of the slide for those that are at home, second elevation down is the cafeteria. Just playing with.
Softly more of a farm.
Yeah,
More of a farm.
Gambrel versus Gable, but what, it's flanked by, here's the kitchen server area, here's the mechanical. This could be, those are those stairwells further back, so this could be, if you had to add, you could add there. So as we moved through the elevation, we clicked on that.
Did you already, I'm just curious, she was talking about the lighthouse effect, right?
Yes.
They're both the same, right? On both,
There's
one scale down, I see.
Yeah.
B is smaller, A is larger. I see that now.
And
Okay.
I think this needs some more work still. It's not there yet, but I think we're trying to get this to feel a little more contemporary than less stuffy, because I think this heads more towards the agrarian kind of style, so we want to try to pull it in.
One thing that it kind of reminds me of is a cupola, which there are a lot of cupolas around Greenfield Hill, obviously on top of barns, but also on top of homes. And one of the distinctive features as well around Greenfield Hill is the weather vanes. That might be an opportunity for a dragon.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
I'm just,
Yeah.
there's a lot of horses and a
Yeah.
couple of roosters. We have a golfer on ours, I don't know why. It was there when we bought the house, but I think it might be kind of cool to add a weather vane on top of something like that.
So one of the comments I remember, I forget the woman's name, but she pulled us aside and said the view from somewhere in this range looking towards the west, right?
Yes.
Is going to be quite fantastic if you do it. So so this is basically a small reading room with glazing. Obviously, some of the classrooms are going to have nice views too, but this kind of is a special little spot that we worked into. It's a breakout space / reading room, so that gives you a little more flexibility as well.
That's so cool.
And then,
Wait, can you show me where that reading room is? If I'm looking
Sure.
at it from
So-
the floor plan?
come to the big view. It's over on this side, looking that way. So the reading room that's more formal looks to the
This is the second floor,
Second.
obviously lounge. I see where you're saying.
second,
Okay.
looks to the west, so towards
Uh-huh.
down the hill and at the entry's kind of down here.
Yep.
Existing. So that.
So that's kind of
tower
that
feature.
treehouse feeling,
Yeah.
because you're really up at the highest elevation at that point.
And then you have basically this main hall that has a social stair up. This is what's programmed as a reading room. This could be your treehouse in the back. So that's so a little more formal
Oh, I
up
see.
front,
Here.
and then the treehouse in the back. So what we tried to do is start picking our spots where, so we call this the lantern, whether it stays that way, but the view that way.
Uh-huh.
There's a small breakout space. There's a kind of a pop-out box that you'll see in Madison. We did a few of those, but that could be a little nook that was on.
Where it comes out from the facade a
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. And you can kind of sit there, students can look that way. And then when you're on, so you come down this hallway. So we spend a lot of time on, when you're walking down the hallway, connections and views to nature. So we had like Binger View West, Binger View East, because this is Binger Woods is over here. And then the treehouse in the back could be the Greenfield Farms room because it's looking in that general direction. So you've got kind of these different types of spaces throughout that are all kind of knitted together.
Kind of the cozy thing that we talked about, right? And then that was definitely on one of those little Post-it notes on the beginning slide. Like a combination of cozy spaces and yet, larger spaces for gathering. I think
Right.
that's really nice. And kids love that. And teachers love that.
Not when they start sweating.
Okay, there.
How are you gonna cool that space?
What space? Which one?
The lantern. with a west exposure.
Well, you know what, that's where maybe building envelope comes into play, where we need to just be sure that we're designing a efficient space. You know, one thing that obviously has been lacking and which got us to this point now is Dwight is not air conditioned, so it's all hot right now. I think we have a couple of hot spots as opposed to the entire building being hot. I think we can live with it. But I think there's a way to devise and I hear you, Peggy, the MEP systems, but really the building envelope itself to be as efficient as possible.
Peggy, it's a great point. We didn't articulate it, but maybe that is a way that we could. So these windows are in a deeper pocket. So on the east and west, you want vertical shading of glazing, and on the south, you want it to be horizontal. So that's the reason why you see these little fins on the treehouse in the back, which is west. But maybe we look at some kind of mechanism to shade the glazing in the front. But duly noted, it makes sense. Yep. So what's on the screen are some of what we talked about as far as the different styles. You're seeing mostly masonry and some stone. We can work with and will work with Nick on the different materials on the exterior, but we know modular masonry is still tends to be the most economical. So a large majority of this building, although there's some articulation of the brick, it's a larger majority of it is brick from a maintenance perspective, but also from a cost perspective. So we tried to limit things like metal panel, any kind of custom materials, and try to keep it conventional as much as we could. But there's always a balance between how many windows, how much brick, what kind of that. Those will be some of the reconciliation items that we'll go through during the cost estimating. Peggy has a question.
Yes, Peggy.
What is the percentage of roofing that's a flat roof?
That's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head. I would guess we'll get you a number. It's probably around 65, 70%, somewhere, maybe like 60. I'll get you a number though. The front gables, we've done this fairly successfully where, so these gables, wherever you see gables, they could be light gauge metal truss sitting on steel frame. And you would insulate at the deck at the gable line so you can run your mechanicals in. We did that at Cheshire at Barnum, and that seemed to work pretty well and then so it would basically be this, but then behind the gable would be all flat. So when you're walking around the building, it looks like it's pitched. But you need flat roofs for your DOAS, your equipment, your exhaust fans, your vents, those kinds of things. So it's a balance, but I can get you a number. I don't know off the top of my head, Peggy, but I'll get you something.
Okay.
Yep.
Not that I want this to impede design whatsoever, but we do have the existing solar array, and I know that that's something we're still trying to work out, how long.
We never got that from South, did we?
I don't think we did.
We did. We're waiting on schematic design so we can have an intelligent conversation with the Green Sky, whoever the PV supplier is, to know what their capacity is to put the PV back
I'd
up.
like to know how long is the contract still
Yeah.
in place, all that information. What is the cost? I'm just trying to get conceptually understand.
The reason why I mention it is because it is existing on a flat roof now at Dwight, and I don't know if gabling affects where
I
you.
can change the rack.
He sent me a copy of the contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if to your point, it's sort of like a facade, and then there's something where it's just flat behind you.
Yeah.
Back
Yeah,
there.
it's mostly flat.
Yeah, and we can.
Or it could be like at the high school behind Fairfield Ludlow High School. There are, Angeles, correct me if I'm wrong, the arrays are over the parking lot, correct?
Solar boards, yeah.
But we can definitely look at areas of gable roof versus flat once we start getting some numbers on PV. Yeah, yeah.
Looking at the flat roof and seeing the mechanicals is terrible too. Osborne Hill. Well,
Yeah, we're
Stratfield,
Well-
Osborne Hill.
we're gonna try to screen them as much as possible. Those DOAS, they're gonna be big. And,
I'm sorry, are these, just for the layman's
Sorry,
terms, these are things that are on top of the roof?
Yeah, the air
mechanicals that
conditioning
have to-
unit.
That have to
Yeah.
exist up there?
Yeah.
Like, they can't be internal?
They can be, they just are, it's expensive to put them inside the building.
It's made my day. You guys ask
I
for
used to
the
do
internal every day.
Fan rooms, that was the baseline standard, but not these days.
Not anymore.
So, yes, so think of a DOAS like a half a tractor trailer truck put on the roof. That's how I think of them. So we need to find a spot that is kind of tucked away and it's not over in educational space.
Because they're noisy.
Can be.
They can be, we put them on vibration isolation, those kinds of things, but you want them over like toilets or hallways or stuff like that.
Gyms, noisy spaces,
Yeah.
Okay.
So we
so
went
you don't hear that.
through these, you won't see them on the wall, but for those on the screen, so we just zoomed in and started rendering or at least taking a swing at the color. So again, the brick, the stone.
So Sad Nicole's not here for this. This looks awesome.
So that's the ECC entry, or what it could look like. So again, mostly masonry. The canopies we're proposing are the timber, whether they stay from a cost perspective, ideally they would, but we just did them.
Actual timber?
Yeah, we just did them in both of the Cheshire projects, and they make a real impactful difference at the entry. So I know we tried it at Madison and we had to VE it out because we were in a tough budget there, but we can look at alternatives, but to start, it would be ideal to have that.
That's really cool.
And we can get you some more like construction photos, or actually we're gonna walk probably through that building, so you'll see kind of some of the strategies. So the main entry and what that could look like, again, I don't think it's there yet because, maybe metal siding, you see the glazing in the center so that it's kind of hard to see, but it's the darker spot. That is all that main hall, so you flood it with natural daylight. Keep going. And then we'll play around with, this is the back where we talked about the treehouse.
Yeah.
So that's just a kind of a playful way to
I love
sit
that.
in the back. It could be quite fantastic from, see all the woods around you. So
Yeah, because you're facing the woods at that
facing
point.
the woods there. So again, trying to pick our spots and where we want to articulate the facade, but that's where we've started with it. And then I think the next, okay, so let me explain this one. So if you were to basically take your scissors and cut this building and look that direction, building section. So if we were to cut through here and look that way, it's a building section through the main hall and see the kind of the stairish kind of with the metal mesh. That's what we would call a social stair. So you see the tower on the far right. The entry, I can go over there. If you click one more, I think it'll bring you up to the rendered version. Canopy, vestibule. This is beyond, that's further beyond. You walk in to the building. That's a hallway looking towards the music, and this hallway is towards music and art. These are windows into art. So you're inside the building, basically right here. So this glass wall that we were looking at in that last facade shines down. This is this social stair. Tucked underneath that social stair is the studio, which
The TV studio.
is
Yeah.
looking right at media. So there's
Great.
that relationship is not necessarily in the media, but it's immediately adjacent to it. So media is right behind us. The structure, whether or not we do some, we call these basically clerestory windows, but I don't like Bradley.
So like natural light would come in through that
like
under.
Bradley Airport, you see the.
Yep.
It's kind of nice to have the views in for the light in. We're not suggesting trees inside the building. This would be on like the wall. So there's a wall, because that wall is, the wall, on the other side of this wall is the stage, toilets, gym. So this is a good opportunity to continue your theme, whether it's the dogwood, whether it's, but we've often, we can articulate this and it doesn't need to be decided now, but this is a nice opportunity. This is a nice gathering space for the students as they enter. Students can sit on this area, and we'll show you some imagery. We'll round out this presentation so you can kind of understand what this is. But anyway, stair up. Again, hallway to second grade, hallway to first grade, and then out to. So that just this we're showing you all of the specialty kind of areas, but so you have about 3 or 4 different areas: the lantern, treehouse, and then some entry candidates. So we're trying to be judicious about placement, but you can start to see how the look and scale of the space reacts. So, and I think these are just really quick concepts. We're not there yet, but you start
Oh, I
to
love that.
see the massing.
Sorry guys, I'm too excited. You're all so quiet, but this is amazing.
And
I can tell you, you're gonna need a lot of roof drains with the way those roofs pitch.
very true, very true. This was just another version of it at the main entry, and then.
Okay,
go
so
one more.
I see stone in the middle, brick on the side.
Again, that's.
I obviously, nothing is set in stone. I'm curious about the corn crib, only because I have very intimate knowledge. So when we first moved to our farm, I was 6 years old, and there was 2 existing corn cribs on the property, and my brother and I used to play in those all day long. We were monkeys or we were dogs. I don't know what we were, but it was like this wonderful imaginary space. What kind of material are you picturing? I mean, like actual wire?
Metal of
Metal.
some kind, yeah. Yeah,
And it would be like clear, like you could see through it. There's just open.
just a silhouette. It would pretty much mock this.
Could you step into that, like one
Yeah,
area?
this.
Because that might be kind of cool for like the kids.
This needs to come out a little further. It would be
Uh-huh.
kind of neat to walk through it to get to school, we don't want to make this like conditioned space or anything. It was really just an element to kind of signify entry. But I think this and this need to be tied together.
I just think it's a really cool idea. I've never seen something like that before, and I cannot believe that it is. It's like I couldn't believe my daughter's picture was in your pitch deck when you first came here. That's really hitting a sweet spot for me. I think it would be really cool to somehow incorporate that, or at least an element where you could like enter in.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of interaction there, especially with our youngest learners who thrive on sort of interactive spaces like that.
People's school in Easton has a silo, but their design is
Yeah.
very agricultural. The whole thing
Peggy was
like-
on that building committee. Peggy, what is in the silo at Staples?
Nothing. It's very awkward to walk through. Sorry, that's just the way it is. I mean,
Okay.
if you're gonna put a silo, I'd like to see it freestanding and not
Yeah.
attached to the building.
Yeah, that's stable.
Okay.
Nothing. You just walk through that, and it's open. I'm assuming like 2 stories.
Take it down
Yes.
and we'll
Yeah.
do it.
Okay. Maybe it could also be a playground element. I don't know. Maybe there's some way we could incorporate. I think it really is striking to me at the front of the building, but maybe there's a way.
Yeah, that led to a conversation yesterday in our office where, about what was it, rocket ship?
Yeah, the
Playscape. I don't know if you're
Yeah,
familiar with it.
big rocket.
I was being made fun of because of the corn crib, so.
No, I'm not going to make fun of you. I'm praising you for it. Tell everybody back in your office they're crazy. It is a core childhood memory.
This guy, he gets
We'll glad until he gets on our side. So the last section that we wanted to walk you through was just some initial approaches to wayfinding, building on that idea that Jeff talked about in the section. These are moments within the building where we can start to create small learning communities and elements within the overall story and theme of the building. We want to come back to this, what we saw and heard at the think tanks, reflecting the local context of Fairfield, the history and the existing connections to nature and community, as well as the think tank vision statement. So like you discovered, Lauren, that opportunity for cozy, the opportunity to create some excitement and curiosity, inspiration. We want to think about all of these different words and phrases and opportunities as we go into the design. So first pass out of the gate is we've enveloped that initial concept of forest and farmstead. So when you go back to those, if you remember those three concepts that we explored early on, we're starting to blend them a little bit where we're keeping the discovery and delight of Dwight, but we're also including some of the forest and the farmstead, the history of Greenfield Hills. So our theme is coming together around those two elements, and you saw that in the architecture as well. So where we can begin in the forest, grow into the dogwoods, where they bring these elements of delight and color, which we heard was so important. And then you graduate into the farmstead where you can learn and explore, discovering the world in that really hands-on way. And then you circle back, much like the circular forces of nature. You're circled back into the Binger Woods, but now you're in the tree canopy. So you're elevated in that aspect, and you're getting ready to move on to your next level of in your educational journey. So that was the story of how we thought these building elements could flow together. Next slide, the building elements themselves. The ECC could be the Binger Woods. It's facing that side, so it could be Binger Woods, but in a playful, lighter green, more energetic way for those little learners at their scale, graphics that they can relate to. You move into the dogwoods, and the dogwoods also carries through that center spine, as Jeff talked about. So it's your greeting when you enter the building, and it can wrap into kindergarten and first grade. Then as you move upstairs into second grade, they have their own theme that also extends along that central hallway in the upper level. This is more of the farmstead, the grange. We can start to play with elements of the local farms, and in this aspect, the orchard that Jeff talked about, we'll show you in the plan, can fuel into this. And the orchard supports things like cafeteria, gymnasium. So we see these two themes kind of coming together in this area of the building. And then the grades 3 through 5, again, we're back around at the Binger Woods facade, looking over that space. So we thought we could, again, be in the tree canopy in that space. So moving into the plans, we'll go through these quickly. So the two main entries, you're greeted first by the corn cob. We talked about that, the corn crib. The orchard can be that main central space with especially cafeteria, gym, those larger gathering spaces. We can create some synergies there with markets, etc. Binger Woods encompassing the pre-K, the ECC pre-K elements there, and then the dogwoods taking the rest of that central spine. And we can play with this. This is a first draft, so dogwoods is currently taking the media center, the social stair, kindergarten and first grade. And on the upper level, I'm sorry, I forgot. So some opportunities for graphics, and like we saw in the section, we may stretch that opportunity of the dogwoods to encompass that whole central stair, but some opportunities in the breakout areas, those little cozy nooks where we can have some fun with graphics or student display, as well as at the main entry and your large gathering spaces. So now on the upper level, we can start with the Grange, this idea for second grade that kind of fuels through that main hallway, music and other educational elements on this upper level. The Hope River Farm Room is that upper level of the lantern, so we can start to think about how these local presences come into play with the storyline, and then Bigger Woods as now a 3rd through 5th grader, how it looks and feels to be in that tree canopy, and then thinking about opportunities on this plan to have some 2-story expressions, as you see where the dogwood might span from 1st to 2nd floor, as well as opportunities to create overlooks into the media center that have some cool architectural and graphical elements that suggest Grange, Lookout.
Yeah.
So, I
would have you focus sort of like on things like, I think the Grange, Bigger Woods, those have been around for, over 100 years. Hope River Farm is fairly new. But I mean, the farm itself may have existed, and my kids actually used to go there. Interesting stories I could share. But anyway, I think there is still a lot of the farm elements up in Greenfield Hill, so I appreciate that incorporation and the fact that there is still a freestanding Grange after, I think it's like 200 years. So it's like one of the oldest in the state. It's pretty cool. So that's awesome. I love these concepts. I love the story. Thank you for walking us through it. That is so awesome.
We wanted to just land on some photos from our Candlewood Lake project in Brookfield. So you kind of saw the aesthetic of the corn crib, and we thought that could be an exterior element that is your first glimpse into this as an outdoor element, but then moving into the interior of the building, there could be opportunities for additional artwork where you can start to express, in this case, their theme was ecosystems. So they have various corridors and there's savanna, there's tundra, there's...
Are those actual rocks on the...
They're actual rocks, there's a river.
Inside?
Yeah, I might not do that again, though. Yeah.
But the metal sculpture, the metal sculptural elements, we thought it could be an interesting, just food for thought.
No, it's very cool.
Think about incorporating birds or some maybe elements of the dogwood flower.
How did you guys get the metal sculptural, was that commissioned?
Yeah, that was Peter Bigsby had completed a few sculptures in their community previously, and the chair of the committee commissioned them to play off of the themes of the design for the sculptures. So there's this huge herring out in the as you enter the building, but his sculptures are pretty amazing.
That's really cool.
Yeah, they're this wire kind of.
You did the horse?
He did the horse. Okay. Yeah, the horse is just fantastic. Yeah. So, anyways, just something.
Very cool.
Something to think about long term. Anyways, just how the building can kind of live and evolve.
Okay.
I think we might be at extra time, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's no time.
Yeah, I'm going to shelve my questions for the next.
Oh.
I was going to do a speed round, but.
I love all of this so much. I cannot tell you how thrilled I am. This is our starting off point. I mean, I cannot imagine how we're going to improve upon it. So, but I know we are still in the fine tuning process. I just think that this is really beyond my expectations. I don't know how everybody else feels, but that is how I feel. I do appreciate, constructive criticism, some of the feedback, Peggy, that you mentioned about heating and cooling, drainage, the MEP space, all of it. I think just from a pure wonder standpoint, for me, I'm really excited with what you guys have pulled together. So thank you.
If you have questions, if you want to send them, we can certainly answer them.
Why don't we do that? If we feel, because we are at 4:30 now, so we're 2.5 hours in. Thank you for everybody who's able to hang in with us. And we are just now at quorum. So why don't I say, if you've got questions for Tecton specifically, or even Gilbane, now that we've got Gilbane on board, why don't you email them to Mark?
Yep.
And then Mark can be sure, facilitate some getting some answers. Okay, but overall, I mean, without getting into too much of the nitty gritty, you guys feel like this is a good starting point? I do. Peggy? Mr.
It's a good starting point. I'd like to see a roof plan next meeting.
Okay. That's okay. I'm not sure if we're there yet, but we can focus in and hone in on that. And you wanted to know percentage of flat roof space, correct?
Correct.
Okay. John or Jeff, anything you guys want to add just in terms of first impressions and your overall feel? Like, do you feel like we're close to or at a good starting point, or do you see lots of?
Yeah.
I'm going to try to keep it all positive. Plenty of time for us to, once we get to, what did we call it? The
Schematic design.
No, the reconciliation date, the one that you sent me for August.
Reconciliation, that's when reconciliation.
Reconciliation. Start getting down to the nuts and bolts and how much everything's going to cost. That's where we can save sort of the.
I was happy to see the results of the fire flow test.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that real quick? So one of the things that came up in meetings past was the need to do a flow test for the water system, for the septic.
Fire suppression system.
Fire suppression system, thank you. Because we're talking about going up in elevation at this point, so we wanted to kind of understand where it was at right now. And then there was something else, and I'm totally spacing because it's time-wise. There was something.
Soil character.
Soil characterization, thank you. And that's important because if we're talking about moving soil, and just a little bit of character background is that we ran into a little bit of a expensive problem behind Roger Ludlow. So I think to know upfront what we're dealing with on the plateau and the playground would be helpful. Okay, so those are things that Langen is looking into for us. But yes, Peggy, to point out the flow test has been completed. There was something else, Mark, that you mentioned, the perk test.
Perk test.
Is that part of it, or is that
No,
separate?
that is separate. That's sewer or septic. No.
Septic.
That's the outgoing. The flow test is the incoming.
Okay.
So I know Brian at Langen is working on, he's had some conversations with the health department as well with the septic, and should be able to give us a better understanding of to what extent we need to modify, update the septic system. So I think he's making some good progress, but wants to do some more analysis before he gives a recommendation. So it's
Okay.
ongoing.
And Langen is also looking to schedule the hazmat survey.
Yeah, building hazmat, yes.
Oh, yeah. And that would be better done over the course of the summer while the building's not occupied. Correct. Okay. And organized through Angelus.
Yes.
Okay. In the interest of time, I'm going to jump ahead to agenda item number 9, project update and timeline review. That was included in the backup as well. I see Mark has it up here for us.
Real quickly, we're here at the 14th. We looked at shortlist in the, we looked at shortlist in the commissioning firms. We'll get that we'll get that taken care of at the next building committee meeting. The upcoming items is the 24th, we have the schematic design. So Tecton will be submitting that, probably go out on the 27th to all stakeholders for review and comment. We have estimates and comments due on the 12th of August. So basically 3 weeks for, a little over 3 weeks for 2.5 weeks for the estimates. And then we'll have a schematic design reconciliation meeting, which is where we get both estimators in the same room. We get the design team, FPS, and anybody who wants to attend. And we go basically line item for line item down their estimates.
This is not like a building committee meeting. This is separate.
No, it's not a building.
Yeah.
It's
And design coordination.
No, it is a separate meeting in and of itself. This is where not only do we talk cost, but we talk scope as far as is it
necessary.
5,000 square feet of quarry tile versus 5,000 square feet of VCT. Is it the gym wood floor? Is it a composite wood floor? Composite or rubber gym floor? Scope is talked out a lot, and quantities are pretty well defined. So that, and coming out of that, we will also keep a value engineering, value management log. FPS is in there. The standard is gym wood floor. The gym floors are wood, but for cost savings, if we go to the rubber, we'll put the gym wood floor on the add alternate, and later on, if money allows, we can add that back in.
For an example.
Correct.
Okay.
So that is the 19th, and then we will present the findings at the August 25th building committee meeting. And then we will look to, I don't have it on here, and it wasn't in the backup, but on the 8th of September, we will look for approval of schematic design and notice proceed for design development.
Okay. I'm noting here, not that it should affect it, but the design coordination meeting on September 1st, that falls on our first day of school, correct? Yeah, okay. Which is at a full day? I can't even believe, I don't remember this. It is, first day is full day. Yeah.
Why don't we make that a topic of one of our design coordination meetings? I think we have enough float in those meetings that if we need to defer one, we usually try and keep a couple of open dates at the end, assuming that there might be something that comes up in the past.
I can't remember what the date is, so that would be, if we just did 4, that would be, 5 is next week, 5, 6, 7, 8, that would be number 8. We're 8, I think we go up to 8 on the design coordination meeting.
Yeah, no, we go 10.
You go 10?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But this falls, I think, at number 8.
Yeah,
So maybe,
it falls on number 8.
which,
Seems like a good break point, because at meeting number 8 is where we start to delve more into the details of room by room assessments.
Okay.
So that's a good place to, if we needed to skip.
Pause for a bit.
pause for a bit. And I think we talked with Marco Taddy from the IT department about getting the room by room needs for some of the specific specials, I want to say, right? He wanted to talk to the teachers, or at least the people who are in charge of those.
I have a meeting with him tomorrow at 9, so I'll follow up and make sure.
I have a little note that I need to make sure that, bless you, that he's following up with those, whoever that is, the head of those departments. Okay, so Mark, that takes us to September.
Yep. And the end of schematic design. Yep.
And end of schematic design. All right. One thing that we might want to consider adding in here is a presentation to the Board of Ed at some point. I don't know where and when they want to see it, but maybe we could coordinate with the chair.
You don't want to make that a pull, you're going to do this push.
Huh?
You're going to make that a push, you're going to say, we're going to present to you versus.
Yeah, that's a good point. They could come here, and they are welcome to.
Jason's on both, so.
He is on both, but they,
We do have, when we presented the Gilbane contract, the Board of Selectmen asked for an update, and I told them September after schematic design, Board of Finance, when we last
so
met with
maybe
them.
that could be our meeting point,
September,
and everybody
yeah.
can come there. Board of Ed is welcome to go to that meeting. Because then we don't have to do that multiple times.
Okay,
It's an idea.
it's an idea.
Okay, I just think the public, obviously, they're welcome to all of our meetings,
Correct.
but they may be interested in seeing this.
Sure.
And I'm sure they'll have thoughts.
Go girl.
In the interest of transparency, I think it's really important that everybody feels they can follow along. Obviously, we'll be well equipped to be able to answer some of the questions, I think, at that point. And from a cost perspective, just make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row. And maybe we don't do it until October, until we're really comfortable.
I didn't get the packet last week because I wasn't physically in the room. You had extras, but did one of your slides have that ghost image of the old school footprint and the new?
So I have, this was from a few meetings ago. I mean, I'm happy to hand it out.
I just thought that was very helpful to see the perspective.
Sure.
Of where
The existing building.
the existing building, so that ghost image that sits on there, so we can see where it was and what's disrupted.
Yep.
I mean, just so you can see, here, I've got one for you too. So you can see where we were.
This is the same.
Where we are
This is
now.
the same as this, but a little bigger. This is.
But that's what it was a few weeks ago, right? Like
And
this
this
is.
looks pretty similar to this.
Yeah.
Not the same. Okay.
But we can do that.
Yep. It'll drive a lot of conversation around where are we doing the temporary park? It's obviously sitting.
Sorry, John, I thought I had another copy of that.
Is it up? Is it?
I forgot what
It's-
was left on the table.
Yeah, I think you can actually, it's a little camouflaged.
Oh, maybe it is.
We can amp that up.
We can make it clearer so it's easier.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I see,
Light red
I
line,
see the
yeah.
coloration there, yeah.
Okay. All right, it's just an idea. Again, we don't have to add it to the timeline. Yeah, just a consideration for us to kind of keep in mind. All right, I'm gonna jump to agenda item number 10, open board discussion. Does anybody have any other items that they want to discuss? We could deep dive in Bigger Woods and solar arrays maybe at the next meeting. I don't want to push anything off, but I know we're all kind of working separately on some things. But yeah, okay.
Do you want to do a separate meeting, just you, me, and Sal? Maybe, I don't think Angela's, do you care about the solar panels? There's like a buyout provision, and we're gonna have to do the buyout, but the.
I don't want to lose
later-
track of it for sure, so if you think that that would be beneficial.
Are you interested in that very much? Yeah?
Okay,
So maybe we should just do a separate meeting, as not to take up.
I gave you
I've got it on my
my,
calendar for September, after we have the roof plan and all that, where we can sit down with them and say, okay, you have 330,000 square feet of PD. This roof gives you 30,000 square feet of flat roof, kind of one for one, kind of, that way we can talk apples to apples.
There's a termination penalty, so you want to wait until the renewal date is every April. So you want to wait until the latest April that you can to actually do the termination. Like, we should be having the conversations well in advance about what would the new program be like, and then does town procurement have to get involved, or can they single source negotiate it, because it's potentially a termination for the current equipment, but an extension for another 20 years on the new school with new equipment. So maybe we can get them to waive the termination fee, which
Which puts them, even if we go to RFP, it gives them an advantage on their costing.
I think we calculated the termination fee is $200 and something thousand. But I can send you the contract. It's in the contract. There's a very specific amount for each year, depending on when you terminate. So you have the right to terminate, you just have to pay for it.
I still think it would be good for you guys to have a meeting prior to the September one, so that you can figure all of that out. And then come to that meeting prepared with all the information, making sure that it's correct according to the contract.
And you're holding money in your budget to pay the bill.
It'll be in a contingency.
Yeah. But we're hoping we don't have to pay for it out of this budget. I mean, technically, I don't even know if you should be paying for it out of your budget.
Is it even eligible?
Not for reimbursement. It's probably,
It's in our charge, wasn't it? Was it that? I'm sorry, it's a pointed question, but just the solar array, what to do with it. I mean, I know it's been a topic of conversation among the Board of Ed for a long time, but in our actual charge, I can't remember if that was part
We have
of,
to deal with it one way or
we
another.
have to deal with it.
School coming down, the school going up, so we.
So it is, it's part of the existing structure, if you will.
Yeah.
But so whether or not it's covered.
How it's
Yeah,
paid,
go.
how it's
Yeah,
paid
yeah,
for and
yeah.
how we manage that.
Well, it's paid for out of the project, well, possibly, yeah.
But if it's gonna
Yeah.
mean like, we can't do wood floors versus in the gym versus, whatever, or epoxy or something.
Just have to be aggressive for creative financing.
I mean, it's something that people negotiate every day, and it's
Yeah, yeah.
lease extensions, extend and blend. And whatever the penalty is, you say, well, let's work some of the penalty into the new deal so we don't have to write a one-time check up front.
We elongate their program.
But I guess we have to get procurement comfortable with the transparency
Or a
of the
3-year term
numbers.
versus a 20-year term.
Adam should be in the room.
Yeah,
So maybe consider adding Adam to your meeting
yeah.
with Angela's and stuff. Okay. All right, thank you for bringing it up, and I know there are other topics that we want to discuss. I don't want to push anything off, but let's just keep that one like kind of at the forefront. And if there's anything else, anybody else, any other topics, please feel free to raise them. You can email me separately if you don't feel like now is the time. You're prepared to bring up something, but I'm really thrilled with the idea of, we've talked about Bangor Woods. I'd like to still explore that, whether or not that's in our scope. Sorry, not Bangor Woods, but the land that Dwight owns actually directly behind us, which is maybe not buildable, but could be walkable. Okay.
But do we have any budget money to do the exploration on that? So there would be physical changes to the wooded area, which would have to be reviewed and approved by the Conservation Commissioner. But he provided us with, which school just did it?
Fairfield Country Day,
Fairfield Country Day. Did a similar
which
thing
is on
on
Bronson Road.
property that they own, and it's a minimal invasive use of wooded property to incorporate learning into it. So it's a great concept. It's already been used in the town. The question would be, can we incorporate that into this project? The only way to get to the next step, somebody's got to come up with a design concept.
And could we pay for that design?
And then we have to figure out, can we pay for the
So
design?
it's not necessarily within our scope. I think it would be remiss for, I don't know why I'm looking directly at you, Angelus, like this is something that
I keep wondering who's looking
doesn't
at
fall
me.
within the facility. It doesn't fall within the facility, but it might be worth us finding out, and I don't know, I'd have to go back and look at what he sent us for the Fairfield Country Day. One, how much those plans cost, and then how much it was going to cost to execute the trail. And then there was a structure, I think it was like a bridge over like a creek bed.
Yeah.
That would be the only thing that would, I think, cost.
Eagle Scout project.
Eagle Scout project.
And then how are you going to maintain
That.
improvements every year?
That's why I'm looking at Angela. Okay. Okay, so these are all open discussions. We're going to keep coming back to them. I don't think that it falls within Tecton's scope of what we've asked you guys to design at this point, but we are, just know that we're kind of having these conversations on the side. All right, with that, I'd like to jump to agenda item number 11, public comment. If there's anybody there, we do have a member of public, our biggest fan. Hi, Mary.
I didn't hear any talk about geothermal. Is that still something that's happening?
It is not on the floor plan. I mean, I don't know how we want to address that, but I think it's like an outside of the school kind of thing, right? And it would fall, I guess, part of
It was
it
on my question list.
would be
It's on the site plan.
within the
It's 5 o'clock,
MEPs.
so I was letting it go.
But it is definitely, when you look at the overall, I guess like the larger picture, which I'm not,
The conceptual bore field is shown on the conceptual site plan.
Yeah.
We can point it out and do diagram to show, and it'll be in the narratives. And it'll be part of the cost estimates as well.
There's not going to be any details of schematic design other than a general load of the building and how that translates to the amount of wells that we
Yes.
anticipate.
But just so you know, it has not gone away. It's still very much there.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, if there's no other public comment at this time, I like motion to adjourn the meeting at 4:50. Could I have a motion?
I motion that we adjourn.
Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, everybody, thank you so much. Yeah, oh,
When do we have to complete the scoring by?
one more time. Scoring will be completed by this Thursday, 4 p.m. That is Thursday, July 16th. That's for the initial scoring, and then the leveling matrix should be to us on Monday, the 20th, and by 4 p.m. on Monday, July 20th is when we need to score these buildings. I will send detailed emails to members of the building committee and reminder, okay? Thank you for asking. And our next meeting for the public, the Dwight School Building Committee, will be on July 28th, 2026. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Good.